Hey, what's going on? Back again. Making another video. This video is actually a special request. So big shout out to Leneve M. Lewis. Definitely have noticed you in the comments section from the beginning, showing a lot of love and a lot of support to the channel. I thought it was going to take me a long time to research this video because you guys will see in the comment section, if you look in some other videos, that the request was just made like a few hours ago. But there's not too much to this story, but there is a larger point to learn from it, and that point kind of ties into that missing girl who ended up murdered and sexually abused, from what I hear, named Cupcake. And the similarity is mental illness. So this story is about Dr. Marsha Edwards. Dr. Marsha Edwards is from Atlanta, and she had two seemingly bright, amazing kids with bright futures. She was one of those Instagram moms that, you know, or Facebook moms, you know, they take a lot of pictures of their kids, they post it online, so you kind of could follow the family. And basically what she posted and what she alluded to was a very happy family. She was married to a prominent surgeon down in Atlanta who was actually no longer practicing medicine but was in charge of the Atlanta housing authority down there. They were really cool with the mayor. The kids worked for the mayor's office. Very bright futures. And I think the daughter went to Boston University. The son had graduated from college, actually was a full-time employee, and the daughter was an intern, and she probably was going to end up being hired because the family was close with the mayor. You know, nepotism and cronyism, but we all know that that's how the world works, so it is what it is. So on August 21st, basically the police alleged that there was a murder-suicide, and Dr. Marsha Edwards, who was a physician, but she wasn't practicing at that time. She was the owner of a medical supply company. Allegedly, she killed herself, or rather she killed her children and then killed herself, hence completing a murder-suicide situation. But before I get started, so I just gave you the backstory. Like I told you, there's not much to this case, and I'll explain to you why I believe that the police's determination is correct. Because murder-suicides sound like they could be complicated, but they're actually easy to investigate. And I'm just telling you my opinion. But before that, I want to give a big shout out to a few other people that I've noticed in the comment area who are keeping the comments alive. I don't care if I have 1 million views. I'm not expecting to be a YouTube star. You know, my purpose of starting this blog was because of my outrage of what I saw happen to a Tatiana Jefferson, and that outrage of wanting to speak on it from a law enforcement perspective to validate from my experience that what happened to Tatiana Jefferson was not right from any point of view, whether it's a civilian point of view or law enforcement point of view. It kind of ignited a fire that I had in me for a long time, where I wanted to basically also use this platform to inform all people, but specifically my people, because we come from the same experience. But anybody can take information from our videos on how to interact with police, and to go further and start looking into other law enforcement interactions and maybe even politics moving forward or whatever. So big shout out to Ari Bassi. If I say your name wrong, please excuse me. A lot of these appear to be full names. That's what their YouTube names are, so I'm not putting people government out. These are the names that they identify themselves for on YouTube. If I don't say your name, you know, I just want a quick run through and just looked at a lot of the people who was commenting. I may have missed a few people. I apologize. I'll definitely give shout outs every now and then to let you guys know that I am reading, I am paying attention, and I appreciate the love and support. But Ramel Williams, that guy definitely is on it, always commenting. I appreciate that. Linda Humphrey, Jim Beam, and Lysander 30. These people are in there, as well as others, and they're engaging. Like I said, I don't care if I have 1,000 views, 1 million views. What makes me happy is to see people discussing these matters and learning from them, and just getting some knowledge, whatever I could give, and whatever they could take, and then throwing that knowledge back at me, because I'm not Mr. Perfect, and I'm not a god. I don't know everything. There's a lot of things that you guys could teach me, as well as I'm trying to share and teach you. So that conversation, whether it's a conversation with 3, 4 people or 50 people, if one person's having that conversation and learning, and they can have a police interaction and say, yo, I remember this guy who actually has a badge, who told me this is how I should conduct myself so that I could live another day, and I saved that one life, or prevent that one person from being falsely arrested or having a bad police experience, then I did my job. That's it. You know, you can't save a billion people, but if you can save one, it was a life worth saving. You know what I'm saying? So big shout out to those folks. Thanks for showing the love, and keep up the good work. In checking out this this story, it was really weird because not the allegation itself, but the sources I was coming upon, because it's not that much, because it's not that much that's available publicly online. As you guys know, as my usual, I'm about to start driving. Most of my videos are me in my vehicle, but you had psychics. Notice seatbelt going on. Always put on your seatbelt, people, and be safe when you're driving. And you'll notice as I'm driving, I'm not looking at the phone, I'm looking at the road. You got psychics and stuff giving their opinion on this case. It was really weird. Like, it was a psychic medium that was like trying to talk to the dead. It was like all kinds of conspiracy theories that maybe she was murdered instead, and it just seemed kind of fishy. And I could tell you guys right now that that wasn't the case. But I'll tell you, aside from the psychic friends network that was trying to dissect this situation, some people just felt like her murder and well, her death and her kid's murder didn't add up, because there was so much activity on social media where the mother was just exclaiming how wonderful her kids were and how much of a good time she was having and how happy she was. And then we also look how successful the family was. You know, their parents who are doctors, children who are older and self-sufficient, who are taking care of themselves, taking expensive vacations to Europe and all kinds of stuff. And I think what people don't seem to understand is that, well, number one, before we go into the crutch of it, let's talk about really quickly why it's pretty clear cut, excuse me, that it was a murder-suicide. Why a murder-suicide is easy to investigate. Number one, you look at the placement of the gun of the last person. Then we typically do analysis on a person's hands and their clothing and their body for gunshot residue. It's very, very difficult for somebody to force you to pull a trigger on yourself. You know, people will cower in fear if you have a gun to their head. They'll curl up into a fetal position out of fear. But it would be extremely difficult to have them place the finger on the trigger and have them pull the trigger themselves to kill themselves. It's very rarely that happens, if ever. So if she's got, you know, I'm sure they did tests on her hands for gunshot residue. If she's got that aids in the conclusion that she killed herself. Also, the amount of gunshot residue, because if you're firing the gun once, there's a certain amount of residue you'll have on yourself. If you fired the gun 3 times, then you'll have even more than what they would estimate one gunshot would produce. So by killing, you know, 2 of her children and then taking her own life, she'll definitely have that forensic evidence on her showing that she was the trigger person. Also, fingerprint analysis, taking fingerprints off of the gun. Was she the only fingerprint on the gun? You know, was her fingerprints on the bullets, indicating that she loaded up the gun? Who bought the gun? Who owned it? Who was it registered to? Was there a struggle? How were the children killed? Were they shot in their sleep? Were they shot in the back of their head, indicating that they were sitting down on a couch or a chair and she came up behind them? These are different things that could determine whether she did it. What type of gunshot wounds? Were they wounds to the head? Were there multiple gunshot wounds to the body? These things matter. Why? Because typically, if somebody wants to kill you very quickly because they love you, and you know they don't want you to suffer. I don't want to say they love you, because it's kind of an oxymoron. You don't really love the person if you're willing to kill them. It's a distorted love that you're suffering from. But they'll typically want to do it quickly, so you'll see headshots, stuff like that. If somebody is killing another person in a rage, excuse me, can't speak, in a rage, you'll typically see multiple gunshot wounds. The person wants you to suffer. There's anger. There's multiple pulls of the trigger to show the distaste that they have for you. There'll also be body shots and then maybe a headshot. So it's, I shoot you up, you're still moving, you're still breathing, you're gasping for air, you're gurgling blood, and now I end you. Now the last thing that you see is me looking at you, shooting you in the head. Those are those crimes of hate, crimes of passion. But the typical murder-suicide situation is, I want to kill you very quickly. I don't want you to suffer. I feel like this is what I have to do. I'm not doing it because I want to. I'm doing it because I have to, because this is the way that will stop the suffering. And that's where that mentality typically comes in. So with those things being said, I do not believe that there's some type of conspiracy. I don't believe there was like a hit. We got to start looking at financial motives. Was she in debt? Did they owe people money? Like, all these things will come into play to determine, you know, were they dealing with some, you know, scrupulous characters or something, you know, shady people. These are things that come into play before they say, all right, this is a murder-suicide. It seems like these guys were squeaky clean, all-American, upper-middle-class black folks who were really doing what they needed to do as far as social mobility. And what it boils down is to the crutch of what I'm going to say is mental health. Just like in the cupcake situation, it's mental health. See, a lot of times we equate, oh, this person wouldn't do that. Oh, this is kind of fishy because they're rich and they're so happy. But let me tell you something. I've had the opportunity and the pleasure of policing a very affluent community. The same issues that they have in the hood is the same issues these rich folk deal with and these upper middle class folk deal with. The difference between them is that there's a level of pride that upper middle class and rich folk have, that they don't want people to see that the perfect family that they try and show is just a facade. It's not real. So when you're growing up in the hood, like I grew up and many of you grew up, that couple across the way is constantly beating each other up. They constantly screaming 2 in the morning, F this, fuck that, F that, boop, bop, boop, bop, whatever. They're constantly doing that. And what ends up happening is we think that that's how other people do. No. The same assault is happening. The same domestic violence is happening in the affluent community. It's just that the man and the woman are both of the same mind that we got to keep this quiet so the neighbors don't know what's going on. So the woman got the same bruises, the same mental, physical, and spiritual abuse, but she's not going to scream loud. She's going to take her hits with a whimper because she doesn't want the next door neighbors to know that that family is broken. The same mental illness that happens in lower income communities happens in rich communities. It's just that they keep it under wraps. Many times they're able to get help for it because they can afford it, they have the resources, but they keep it under wraps. Whereas in the hood, people can't afford to address their mental health issues, so they go out and do crimes many instances, or they're the guy that's wandering around, or the guy who's suffering from abstract poverty. You know, he's basically homeless on the street talking to himself. See, rich folk have money, so they'll ship that relative off to an expensive mental health institution and keep them out of sight. Or they'll medicate themselves. So they've got bipolar, they've got serious depression, they've got schizophrenia, and they're heavily medicating themselves and still being functional. They're still coming off as functional because they have the resources to mitigate and manage their mental illness. I'm telling you from my experience. You got two families going on a metro with bus, train, whatever. One family's dirt poor, the other family is rich and middle class. The dirt poor family is going to look at the rich and middle class family and see how well spoken the children are and how well dressed the mommy is and the daddy and how happy they look together. And they're going to say to themselves, Dad, you know, our life sucks. We wish we could be like them. But lo and behold, you have no idea that the mom is on crack, the children smoke weed, skip school, the father's absent and abusive. They got more problems than you. And you say, well, how can the mother smoke crack and not look like it? Why do crackheads look the way they look? They have no money, they're poor. They have to now, once the addiction takes hold, the addiction is strong and it takes hold, they start utilizing all of their financial resources to maintain that habit. And so they start spiraling down into a depression because they start losing everything. So then they stop taking showers, they stop brushing their teeth, they start losing weight, their hygiene fails, so their teeth start to rot out. It's a whole bunch of different factors that come in that result in them looking the way they look. But when you're rich and you have almost unlimited resources, there's only but so much crack a body can smoke, how much cocaine a body can take in without breaking down and dying. You can reach that equilibrium of how much drugs you need in a day, and you can afford to feed that habit and it not impact your ability to pay your bills. So you're gonna get up, you're gonna eat breakfast, you're gonna brush your teeth, and then also there's that pride that I spoke about already. That pride of the upper middle class and the rich class where they have to keep up appearances. We don't necessarily have that pride in the lower classes because we're just too busy trying to survive. We don't have time to keep up appearances and try to please other people. That's not what our life is about. Our life is about trying to survive and get to where those people are, the upper middle class and the rich class. So we're not, oh, I gotta look like this, I gotta act like this so I can be accepted by this group. We're all trying to just live. But they're in a different space and they think differently. And I'm not saying that's a good way of thinking. I think it's a very shallow way of thinking, but that's the way that they think. So when you combine that extreme pride that they have, and you take that extreme pride and you add unlimited resources, that person is able to feed that habit and still take care of themselves and become what is called a functional addict. But you can't be a functional addict when you're poor. It's just not, it's very difficult. Some people are able to do it because addiction affects people differently, but it's very difficult. So that being said, I believe that Miss Marsha Edwards suffered from mental illness. I think she was a mentally ill woman. And when we see the pictures of her with her daughter and her son, and she's saying how great her life is and all that stuff, it's classic suicidal behavior where right before they do what they do, they get a euphoria because they feel like everything is going to be great soon. I'm going to end it all. So they start being nice to everybody, smiling, giving things away, you know, posting about how happy they are. They're not happy with their life. They're happy that they finally believe that they found the resolution and the solution that they were looking for all the problems that ailed them. In time, more will come out as to what was going on with that woman, whether she had a substance abuse issue. Remember, very affluent and educated woman, actually a medical doctor. She had the training, the experience, and the knowledge to suffer from substance abuse. And I have no proof of this. I'm just saying that it's a possibility. And nobody know, or nobody be the wiser to it. We also have this epidemic, as we discussed in other videos and in this video, of members of the black community not acknowledging mental illness and addressing it, looking at it as weakness, as something not to be spoken about, as something to be washed over, and therefore good people who could be functional, happy members of society spiral down a world of loneliness and mental illness, and sometimes hurt others or take their own lives. So once again, I want to thank Miss Lewis for giving me the idea to cover the story, because I didn't hear about it. But unfortunately, I don't think that there's any foul play involved with this. And you know, to the credit of whoever may think there's foul play, I think there's still more information that needs to be released. So maybe I might change my opinion with more information. If you guys have more information and you want to share it with me, I'm actually going to set up, you could just put it in the comment section for now, but I'm going to set up an email and a Twitter and all that stuff for people to be able to reach out to me with ideas for videos as well as for commentary and debates. I'm always down to talk, you know. If I'm busy and I'm working my butt off, you know, maybe you might not get an immediate response, but surely when I'm free, I'll definitely pick up where that conversation left off and have that debate. I love having a good spirited debate. But I don't think there was any foul play involved. I think it was just a case of mental illness, and unfortunately, this guy Edwards, Chris Edwards Sr., this guy lost his entire family. I mean, my heart goes out to this man. I think he belongs in all of our prayers. I hope that the Atlanta community is circling around this guy and giving him the love and support that he needs, because he lost a lot. He lost a hell of a lot, people, and nobody deserves to go out like that. Nobody deserves to go out like that. He deserved for his kids to live. I pity the mother. People, we like to be angry, and in many instances we have every right to be angry. We would like to be angry and say, oh, you know, screw her, damn her to hell. Sometimes people do things that are so outrageous, you just have to believe and have to understand that maybe they didn't do it in the right state of mind. And as for such an educated and intelligent woman with such a loving family, I would like to hold out hope that she didn't do it calculated because she just wanted to maybe hurt her ex-husband or whatever. That she did it because she was mentally ill, because she couldn't think straight. She couldn't reason and rationalize with a sound mind, and then as a result of that, she took their lives. And that if she was of sound mind, if she was getting help, if the warning signs were picked up and she was able to have an intervention, that right now she'd be alive, her children be alive, and she'd be enjoying a much more better quality of life. That, you know, as such, that she would not ever think about taking her own life, much less the life of anybody else or even her children. So that being said, you guys stay safe out there. If you have any questions, please put it in down below. Subscribe and like. It matters. It shows that people are interested. It shows that people are engaged. It motivates me to make these videos, you know what I'm saying, when I'm on my own time with almost no time to myself lately. I'm a family man. I'm a professional. You guys are the same thing. So you know how hard it is to get that free time. That's why most of these videos come when I'm driving, because I have nothing else to do but be on this road. So now is a good opportunity to share my thoughts. You rarely get a video with me sitting down at home or elsewhere because I'm so busy. So like and subscribe, show your interest, support the channel, and I'll be back with the next video, because sharing with you, communicating with you, interacting with you matters to me. Thanks a lot, guys. Take it easy.